Dear viewers and listeners, welcome to another episode of the podcast series for the Quantifarm project. Today with us, we are honored to have Caroline van der Weerdt from our partner organization TNO. Caroline, hello and welcome to our podcast.
Thank you, Nefeli. Hello.
So today we're going to talk about your work within the project. And as we know very well, TNO is responsible for behavior innovation and stakeholder engagement. So could you tell us a little bit more about your role within Quantifarm?
Sure. Yes, we have the honor to actually be leading the work on behavioral innovation, as you mentioned. Because from the onset in this project, even when creating the whole idea and how we wanted to go about it, we knew from the beginning on that the adoption of DATSs is really, it's not, as we call, a binary decision, a yes or no decision. It's not even only a monetary or financial decision. There's a lot of things taking place on the farm that influence the decision-making process of investing in and even working with DATSs. These can be aspects of attitude, perceived risks, own thoughts on benefits and beliefs about technology. So we knew from the start that we have to take this into account in this project, and thankfully we were allowed to take upon us to lead that part of the work.
Great, thank you very much. So one of the aspects of your role is to study the adoption of digital agriculture technology solutions, or else DATSs, as you mentioned, by farmers. What are the steps you follow for this research?
So we've taken quite some steps by now. We're actually in the middle of the project at the moment, and we started out by, first of all, there's so much research that has already been done actually in this field, and that's always important as a researcher to rely upon what is already there and try to see what you can use and even take on in a further step. So we did quite an extensive desk study. Then we did some surveys of our own amongst the test case population. We've even done a separate research on farmers who are really reluctant to adopt technology, to really gain those insights even more. And the best of all, we've visited quite some farms ourselves, and that is always the best, to really immerse in the farming context. Like I always say, when you do that, you get information, but you also get information out of the moments you share, even the silences you share. Especially with topics like this, it's very important to spend time and establish a relationship of trust. So we've been gratefully going to the farms and been warmly welcomed by all. And what I'd also like to stress with your question, Nefeli, is that we've taken some human-centered research approaches that from the literature we've seen have not really been employed before in this context. So we have, for instance, created what we call relational maps together with the farmers at the kitchen table, have them literally map out their relationship to technology. And we've also observed patterns between couples, for instance, as we have also found out that it's not necessarily only one person on the farm making these decisions.
Exactly.
So we've also employed some of these techniques in our research, which I'm really proud of.
So this is truly innovative, to establish a personal relation with the farmers with such innovative tools like the ones you mentioned.
Yes, I'd say employing them in this context, yes, is rather innovative, yeah.
Great. So based on your so far research, are farmers eager to adopt such technologies?
Well, over the whole, yes. We have to, of course, be mindful that we are studying a particular group here in Europe, but over the whole, farmers recognize a lot what it can bring them in these complex times. Nevertheless, there are different routes to adoption. they're not all motivated by the same. And I think that is really important to recognize in, for instance, the programs you set up to enhance adoption. That some are more risk takers, some are more risk averse, and for instance, that really influences the way you should approach the farmers. But for sure, farmers are one of the most innovative populations, subpopulations we have, so they're very open, yeah.
Great, because they always have to adapt to different weather conditions,
Always.
Different crops, so
Exactly.
This is another adaptation.
Exactly.
So, moving on to another question related to the visualization of your data. You have come up with the innovative solution of the storyboards. Could you describe these storyboards, the concept of the storyboards, and how they work?
Sure. Well, I've been working actually in this domain already for quite some years, and always gladly together with developers and ICT specialists. And storyboards is one of those ways to really make clear the user aspects and the user journey of using new technology. So I was familiar with that method already. And I was thinking, okay, so we collected all this data that I already shared a bit about. But rather than graphs or whole lists, what is a way to really convey the stories behind it? And that's how I came up with the storyboards, because I knew it is a method that can resonate with a lot of different people, from designers to policymakers to farmers themselves, actually. So it was really a way to make our data accessible. Of course, the stories are based on real-life cases, but in an anonymized setting.
Great. So I believe that they are more easily perceived and well received by the audience. Are they more understandable? Do you have any feedback related on their perspective on the storyboards?
Yes, the feedback was actually really positive. I'm really happy about that. We've gone out with them to conferences, sent them to different people, and the feedback was overwhelmingly positive, actually. So I'm very proud of that. People found them so recognizable and easy to take in. And what made me most happy is some people asking me, can I have the original files, because I want to translate them in my language so I can send them on to a wider audience. So yeah, I think they really have found their way into the community, which I find important.
This is a very innovative way to present data, and also a very fun way to present raw data rather than graphs and other things that might be confusing for non-experts.
Exactly, exactly.
Great, and congratulations for this achievement.
Thank you.
And finally, I would like to ask you regarding the next steps for TNO. What can we expect from the study on behavioral analysis in the future from your organization?
Yep. So we've really spent quite some time on getting a broader view of the main aspects influencing adoption. What we have also seen is that there's a few areas that really need attention of their own. 3 areas to be precise. One is gender differences. Can we see differences between DATS adoption amongst a farmer and a spouse, for instance? Because often case we see that the male is the lead farmer, and what is going on in that dynamic? Second is cultural differences. Do we see differences in adoption across Europe that we can do something with? And the third is what we call the relationship between autonomy and digitalization, because we see that many farmers at some point become reluctant to go to full automation, and we'd like to know more of what is going on there. So the past few months we spent on deep diving on that. And the summer we're going to spend on analyzing our data, because we now collected a lot, and still have to do our analysis, but I can already share something we're seeing already is indeed about the gender differences. Well, let's say this. Across the board, across Europe, at every kitchen table, decisions on DATS are made by the couple, not by the farmer in isolation. So I think very important to be aware of that dynamic, and who are we actually addressing with our programs and our schemes. Second of all, we already see there is a difference in Europe, in countries, between trust in government institutions. It varies. Well, we will tell more about that in a later stage, but that can also influence what angle you are coming from to support this adoption, because the levels of trust vary. So we'll be working on that more over the coming months and sharing the results with you later this year.
Great. Thank you for sharing some initial results of the ones you're going to share in the future. And good luck with your whole research. We are looking forward to hearing more from your analysis and data. And also, thank you very much for being here with us today.
Thank you, Nefeli. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And as for you, dear viewers and listeners, thank you very much for watching this podcast episode. Don't forget to follow us on social media and on the Quantifarm website. And of course, stay tuned for another episode.